"Take that vest off," Hell's Angels told Ozzy Osbourne. Then they learned who he was before this story begins. Tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Now let's dive in. The day Ozzy Osbourne rode with Hell's Angels' cinematic epic, Tale Los Angeles, November 14, 2019. Sunlight dripped across the marble floor of the Beverly Hills mansion like warm honey. Inside the kitchen, Ozzy Osbourne, yes, that Ozzy, the mischief king of rock and roll, stood perfectly still, staring at a leather vest as if it were a relic dug from an ancient temple. It wasn't just any vest. Hell's Angels' California charter. The back carried the emblem, a skull with wings, stitched in harsh Gothic letters that felt like they had weight, history, and blood beneath them. The leather was old but alive. Whoever wore it before lived hard, rode harder, and fought often. It smelled faintly of gasoline, sweat, sun-bleached asphalt, and something else. Brotherhood. Ozzy held the vest between his fingers. Slowly, a grin tugged the corner of his lips. A stupid idea was forming, which, in Ozzy's case, meant a very good idea. Sharon was upstairs in a meeting, deep in business talk, and Ozzy's 69 years old. Legendary, chaotic, unpredictable, felt the unmistakable spark of mischief flicker in his chest. "Just gonna get a coffee," he whispered to himself. "Without security, without the rolls, just me. Just John, the kid from Birmingham, the kid who never asked anyone for permission in his life." The vest's story. 1 week earlier, at a restaurant in Malibu, a young man had approached him, nervous, trembling, voice cracking. "Mr. Osbourne, I want you to have this." He pulled out the vest. "My grandfather was a Hell's Angel. He left this to me. But I want you to have it because you're you, the spirit, the rebellion. You taught me what freedom is." Sharon had instantly said, "Absolutely not." But the boy insisted, tears shimmering behind his eyes, and so the vest became Ozzy's. Now it was about to become a problem, or an adventure. With Ozzy, both things were usually the same. The ESCAP. He slipped quietly through the hallway. Sharon's voice upstairs echoed lightly. "Yes, the deal must be finalized by." Ozzy tiptoed faster. He grabbed the old Toyota keys, the forgotten, dusty car buried behind luxury vehicles, and slipped out into the chilly November afternoon. Freedom hit him immediately. Cold, sharp, beautiful. By 4:15 p.m., he arrived at a small coffee shop on Melrose Avenue, ordered a black coffee, sat outside. No one noticed him. Perfect. Just an odd old guy in a vest. The sun was dipping behind the buildings, painting the sky in layers of apricot fire and gold. Ozzy closed his eyes. For the first time in months, he felt normal. But fate wasn't done with him, not even close. The sound of Tiro Ubielit began like distant thunder, then louder, deeper, like 12 lions, growling in harmony. Ozzy opened his eyes. 12 Harley Davidsons rolled down the street, chrome blazing against the sunset. Black boots, tattoos, chains, leather vests, and every vest bore the same emblem as the one he was wearing. Hell's Angels. They parked in perfect formation at the front. A man built like a refrigerator on legs, 6'3", beard like a waterfall, shoulders like 2 boulders, his vest red. Bull. Bull's eyes fell on Ozzy, nor on Ozzy's vest. His jaw clenched. He started walking toward him. The others followed. The air grew heavy, like a storm tightening around a ship. Ozzy took a calm sip of his coffee. His heart, however, had gone heavy metal inside his chest. Bull stopped in front of him. "Where'd you get that vest, Grandpa?" The tone was mocking, but dangerous. Ozzy looked up, smile pulling at his lips. "A fan gave it to me. Nice vest in it." Bull's eyes darkened. "This isn't fashion. This isn't costume. This vest is earned, and you just look like someone playing dress up." The biker beside Bull, a man with a long scar slicing through his cheek, growled, "Take it off, right now, or we take it off for you." The circle tightened. Ozzy sighed. Well, that escalated quickly. He began unzipping, but fate, once again, had other plans. A younger biker, maybe mid-20s, stepped forward. "Bull, wait." Bull turned. "What?" But the young man wasn't looking at him. He was staring at OUSC. Hard. Then, slowly, his eyes widened. "No way," he whispered. "RRR. You." Ozzy Osbourne. Silence slammed into the street like a hammer. Every biker froze. Bull blinked. Ozzy Osbourne. "Rings a bell." The young biker burst out. "Rings a bell. Black Sabbath. Paranoid. Iron Man. He's a living legend." Bull now stared properly. The The face, the eyes, the hair, the grin. Pieces clicked. Ozzy simply shrugged with that childlike grin. Yeah, mate, it's me, but today I just wanted a coffee. Made a bad fashion choice, I guess. Then Bull laughed. Not a small laugh, a long, thunderous, explosive laugh. The men behind him cracked as well. Like glass bursting, the entire tension evaporated. Holy sh! Bull finally said. We almost beat up Ozzy Osbourne. Sharon's gonna kill us. Ozzy burst out laughing, his iconic mad laugh echoing through the street. Jake, the young biker, sat next to him. Mr. Osbourne, my dad played your records every day. You're the reason I picked up a guitar. Bull approached, not threatening, no respectful. Apologies, Mr. Osbourne. We take our vests seriously, but you've earned respect in a whole other way. Oh no, mate, Ozzy said, waving a hand. You were right, I shouldn't have worn it, but I respect the meaning of it. Brotherhood, loyalty, freedom. I believe in those too. The bikers nodded. Suddenly, these men who looked carved from iron were softening around him. Blade, the one with the scar, asked, Mr. Osbourne, is it true you bit a bat? Ozzy laughed so hard he slapped his knee. Ah, that story. Yeah, mate, it was an accident. They usually threw fake bats. That night someone tossed a real one. Had to get rabies shots for weeks. Sharon nearly murdered me. The bikers roared with laughter. The INVTATO and Jake cleared his throat. Mr. Osbourne, if you're free, wanna ride with us? A spark exploded in Ozzy's eyes. A spark Sharon hated. A spark that created legends. I don't have a bike, he said. Oh, we got you, Bull grinned. You can ride with Blade. He's the smoothest. Blade smiled proudly. Ozzy stood. All right then, let's ride. The ride of FREDOM. The bikers mounted up. Ozzy put on a helmet, climbed behind Blade, and wrapped his arms around him. The engines roared alive. The vibration crawled through Ozzy's bones like a heartbeat. Then they took off Melrose Avenue, blurred beneath them as the convoy glided through traffic like a myth come alive. People on sidewalks stared. Phones lifted. Dogs barked. Cars honked. But Ozzy, he felt free. The wind slapped his face, cold and raw. His eyes watered, not from fear but from joy. For the first time in decades, he wasn't a legend. He wasn't a superstar. He wasn't the Prince of Darkness. He was John, the boy from Birmingham, riding with brothers he never knew he needed. They soared through Sunset Boulevard, 9 lights flickering on chrome, then through the hills, roads twisting like black rivers under the stars. By the time they reached the top of Hollywood Hills, Ozzy was trembling not from fear, but from adrenaline. He climbed off the bike, shaking his head. That was incredible. Bull stepped forward, holding something. A small Hells Angels pin. This isn't official membership, Mr. Osbourne, but it's respect. You earned this. Ozzy took the pin gently. His voice cracked. I've won Grammys, played 2 millions, but this means something else. You accepted me as a man, not a star. The bikers hugged him, one by one. Men feared by the world, showing hearts of gold. The return and Sutter Owen, they escorted him back to the Toyota. Jake gave him a small paper. If you ever need us, call anytime. Same to you, mate, Ozzy whispered. At 8:30 p.m., he reached home. Sharon stood in the doorway, arms folded. Ozzy Osbourne, where have you been? No phone, no security. I've been losing my mind. Ozzy gave her his most innocent smile. Love, you're not gonna believe this story. And she didn't. Then she did. Then she laughed, and laughed, and laughed until tears streaked her cheeks. Ozzy, you're never going to grow up, are you? No, love. Not planning to. 3 months later, the CAL Bull's phone vibrated. Unknown number, he answered. Bullmate, it's Ozzy. Bull nearly dropped the phone. Mr. Osbourne, listen, I'm performing next month. VIP tickets for you and the whole crew. And one more thing. I want you lads on stage with me. Let's sing Paranoid together. Bull's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Osbourne, thank you. No, mate, thank you. You reminded me what matters: real connection. The concert night, 18,000 people, screaming, lights blasting, drums pounding, the earth shaking backstage. 12 bikers stood in full Hells Angels gear. Ozzy walked up to them. You ready, lads? We were born ready. On stage, Ozzy took the mic tonight. I've got special guests. They reminded me what life is really about: brotherhood, freedom, being real. Welcome Hells Angels, California Charter. The crowd erupted. Bull walked out. Jake followed. Blade, Scar, the whole crew. Then Paranoid began. The crowd went into madness, bikers and a rock legend singing together. A moment that would never exist again. A moment carved in stone. Backstage after, Jake pulled Ozzy aside. "Mr. Osbourne, tonight was the first time people looked at us with respect, not fear. You gave us that." Ozzy held Jake's face gently. "No, Jake, you always had value. I just helped people see it." That night, when Ozzy lay in bed, he whispered, "Maybe I'm not the Prince of Darkness. Maybe I'm just John, and that's enough." If you enjoyed this journey, hit subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Comment your name so we can use it for a character in our next story. Like and share this video with your friends. If you love Ozzy Osbourne, then share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. The concert with the Hells Angels should have been just a wild one-night story, something to laugh about in interviews, something fans would whisper about online, something the press would twist into headlines. But for Ozzy Osbourne, it didn't end that night, because some moments don't end when the lights go off, they echo. 1. The morning AFTR. The next morning, the sunlight in Beverly Hills felt different. The house was quiet, too quiet. No roadies, no techs, no arena noise still ringing in his skull. Just birds and Beverly Hills' expensive silence. Ozzy sat at the kitchen counter, wearing a worn t-shirt and flannel pajama pants, coffee steaming in front of him. He rolled the Hells Angels pin between his fingers, feeling every groove of the skull and wings. He replayed the night in his mind. Bull and the bikers walking on stage. The roar of 18,000 people. Jake's frozen face the moment the lights hit him. The way his voice shook at first, then found power. And afterwards, Jake's words. "For the first time in my life, I felt valuable." That sentence had sunk into Ozzy like a tattoo. Sharon walked in, hair tied back, still in her robe, a mug in her hand. "You're up early," she said. "Didn't sleep much." He replied, "You were snoring." She smirked. Rock and roll snoring, love, completely different. She sat down across from him and eyed the pin. "You're still thinking about them, aren't you?" He nodded. "Jake, Bull, Blade, all of them, they're not what people think. Sharon, they're broken boys with metal over their hearts." Sharon took a sip of coffee. "You saw yourself in them." "Maybe," he said softly. "Or maybe I saw what I could have become if music hadn't saved me." For a few moments they were quiet. Then Sharon spoke. "Carefully, there's something you should see too." The HID-SG slid a tablet across the counter. Headlines glared at him. Rock legend shares stage with infamous biker gang, Hells Angels, and Ozzy Osbourne, glorifying outlaw culture. Controversy erupts after legend invites bikers on. Either were angry tweets, outraged blogs, think pieces, commentators talking about dangerous messaging and irresponsible influence. Under one article, a photo showed Bull and his crew on stage, arms raised, singing Paranoid with wild grins. And in the center, Ozzy, mouth open, eyes blazing, caught mid-scream. "God, he really did look unhinged." He exhaled. "Here we go." Sharon watched his face carefully. "You didn't do anything wrong, Ozzy," she said. "He gave a bunch of misunderstood men a moment of respect. But the world doesn't always like that." He scrolled further. One comment stuck out. "He's romanticizing criminals. What kind of message is that to the kids?" Another, "I don't care who he is. Hells Angels is not a fashion statement." He felt something burn in his chest. He set the tablet down. "You know what they don't see, Sharon," he said quietly. "They don't see that for some of those lads, that stage was the first time in their life nobody looked at them like monsters." Sharon nodded slowly. "Maybe the world doesn't have to understand," she replied. "Maybe it only needed to matter to them." He fell silent. Then his phone buzzed. "Caller ID, unknown." He answered. The voice on the other end was shaky, thick with emotion. "Mr. Osbourne, it's Jake. 3. Brother in trouble, Jake, mate." Ozzy's voice brightened instantly. "How you doing?" That scream at the end of the song world class. "By the way," there was a pause. I just wanted to say thank you again," Jake said. "The guys are still talking about last night. Bull's pretending he didn't cry backstage, but we all saw it." In the background, Ozzy heard muffled laughter and a loud voice. "Shut your mouth, Jake." Jake laughed. Then his tone changed. "Actually, sir, there's something else." Ozzy sat up straighter. Go on then. There's gonna be heat, Jake said quietly. Media, cops, people talking. Some of them already are. I want you to know, if this causes trouble for you, stop right there, Ozzy said firmly. You lads gave me something to... A reminder. I don't regret a second of it. Jake exhaled. Thank you, sir. Listen, Ozzy continued. Don't call me sir. I work for a living. Jake chuckled. Yes, Mr. Osbourne. Ozzy. That's better. And Jake, yeah, you ever feel like the world's trying to crush you again? You call me. You hear? Jake went quiet for a moment. Yes, Ozzy. I'll remember that. They hung up. Sharon watched him. You're attached, she said. They got under my skin, he replied. In a good way. She got up, kissed his forehead, and whispered, just, don't forget who you are trying to save. Them, or yourself. He didn't answer. Because at that moment, he honestly didn't know. Back to the garage a week later, far from Beverly Hills' polished wallpaper and scented candles, a very different morning was unfolding at the edge of an industrial block in California. A large warehouse sat under a pale sky. Its doors were painted black, a winged skull symbol near the entrance. The Hells Angels garage was alive. Metal clanged, engines roared, rock music blared from a crackling radio. Men in leather moved between tool benches and bikes on lifts. Jake rolled a wrench between his fingers, staring at a carburetor that wasn't cooperating. Oi, Jake, Bull's voice thundered from the doorway. You fixing that bike or marrying it? Jake smirked. It's more loyal than half the women I've met, he shot back. A couple of the bikers laughed. Bull walked closer, his boots echoing against the concrete. How's the head? Bull asked. Jake frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Bull raised an eyebrow. You've been acting weird since the gig, staring at the sky a lot, not punching anyone for fun, using big words like valuable. Jake shrugged, turning back to the carburetor. Just thinking, that's all. Thinking gets you in trouble, Blade commented from the other side of the shop. Don't start that habit now. But Bull wasn't joking. The gig shook you, didn't it? He said quietly. Jake put the wrench down. When I was up there, he said slowly, I felt like I didn't have to hide who I am, like all the crap people said about us didn't matter for a second. I felt free. Bull leaned on the bike next to him. You are free, Bull said. That's why you're here. Jake nodded. But what if there's more? Beyond the road, beyond the clubhouse, what if I can be both? Bull studied him. Both what? He asked. Both a biker and something else, Jake replied awkwardly. A musician, maybe, or, I don't know, not just the scary guy in the vest. Bull held his gaze. You think wearing this patch makes you less? Bull asked. Jake shook his head quickly. No, never. Bull's eyes softened slightly. That stage didn't turn you into something new, he said. It just showed you what was already in you. You want to write songs, play more, do it. This club doesn't chain you here. This club rides with you, wherever you go. Jake swallowed. Even if that means being seen differently. Bull chuckled. Jake, we've been seen as monsters our whole lives. You think it gets any worse if they find out one of us can carry a tune? The garage erupted in laughter, but underneath, something had shifted. Jake glanced at the far wall. Leaning against it, guarded in a homemade case, rested his old, scratched, sunburst guitar. His father's guitar. He suddenly felt pulled toward it. 5. A song is Buren that night, after the engines died and the doors were locked. Jake sat alone in the corner of the garage. The others had gone. The radio was off. The silence felt almost holy. He opened the guitar case. The smell of old wood and memories rushed out. He sat on a crate, tuned the strings by instinct, fingers moving with the familiarity of years. He strummed a chord. It echoed in the empty space. Then another. He thought about the coffee shop on Melrose, about an old man in a stolen vest, about nearly threatening him. Then, realizing who he was, he thought about the ride to the hills, the pin, the concert, the way the crowd screamed when Bull and the others stepped out. Words began to form. At first they were scattered images, engines on fire, road dust in lungs, a legend laughing with criminals, a boy feeling seen. He started humming, then singing. His rough voice echoed off concrete and steel. Old man in a leather vest sitting where the sun comes down thought he was just another ghost of a forgotten town. But I saw fire in his eyes, same as the fire in mine. We were born on different roads, but brother, we still ride the same line. He stopped. That line hit him. Born on different roads. Ride the same line. He grabbed a marker and a scrap of cardboard from a shelf and started writing. He didn't know it yet, but he was writing the song that would change all of them. 6. The Cal. A few days later, Ozzy was in his home studio. The room was cluttered with amps, guitars, cables, a couple of old stage props, and a ridiculous rubber bat someone had sent him as a joke years earlier. He sat in front of a mixing console, headphones around his neck, lazily picking at an acoustic guitar. He strummed a riff, stopped, double quotes. "Oh, that's rubbish," he muttered. He tried another. Even worse. He was halfway through inventing an entirely new curse word when his phone buzzed. "Jake," he answered. "Jake, the rocker," he announced. "What's the verdict, lad? Have the neighbors filed noise complaints yet?" There was a shy laugh on the other end. "I wrote something," Jake said. "Oh yeah, a song." Ozzy straightened in his seat. "Sing it." "What, now?" Jake stammered. "Yes, now. I'm old, Jake. I could die any minute. Don't waste time." Jake took a deep breath. Silence fell around Ozzy's studio. Then Jake began. The call quality wasn't great. The audio was compressed, a bit fuzzy, but the emotion cut straight through. "Old man in a leather vest sitting where the sun comes down. We were born on different roads, but brother, we still ride the same line." He sang the first verse, then the chorus. His voice cracked now and then, not from lack of skill but from too much feeling. When he finished, there was a pause. "Hello?" Jake asked. "Still there?" On the other end, Ozzy was wiping at his eyes. "Jake," he whispered, "that's bloody beautiful." "You think so?" Jake said, voice small. "I know so," Ozzy replied firmly. "You keep working on that. We're not done with it." Yeah, Ozzy said. "You think you're getting rid of me that easily?" "No chance. We're writing this together." Jake laughed, but it was shaky. "Thank you, Ozzy. Send me the lyrics," Ozzy said, "and the next time you sing that, it won't be into a phone. It'll be into a proper mic." 7. Trouble brewing. But while songs were being born, something darker was stirring. A talk show line up. A news segment. A radio host. Words, opinions, poison. One evening, Sharon walked into the living room where Ozzy was flipping channels. She grabbed the remote, switched to a news channel. "There," she said, pointing on the screen, a primly dressed commentator was speaking. "And we have to ask, what responsibility do celebrities have when they share their platform with known outlaw organizations? What message is being sent to the youth when a globally famous rock star celebrates men wearing the Hells Angels patch on stage?" They played a short clip from the concert. The crowd screaming, Bull with his fist raised, Jake singing into the mic, Ozzy laughing between lines. Frozen frame. Pause. The commentator shook his head. "This isn't just nostalgic rebellion. These aren't cartoon bikers. This is real life, real consequences." Ozzy muted the TV. He felt a cold anger grow in his chest. "They didn't see what I saw," he said quietly. "What did you see?" Sharon asked softly. "I saw men who'd been told all their lives they were scum, finally standing somewhere they were loved," he said, "even if just for 3 minutes." Sharon sat down beside him. "Are you sure you want to keep standing by them?" she asked carefully. Ozzy looked at her. "Yes." She nodded once. "Then we deal with the noise," she said, "but you protect them too, because now you're tied together, whether you like it or not." 8. The RAI denoise has a way of turning into action. 2 weeks later, the garage doors of the Hells Angels clubhouse rolled open at 8 a.m. Sharp. Jake was fiddling with a bike chain. Bull was finishing a cigarette. Blade was tuning an engine by ear. They heard it first. Engines, but not theirs. Doors slamming, boots pounding. "Cops," Bull said calmly. Black and white cars pulled up in a semicircle. Officers in tactical vests stepped out, hands near their holsters. "Hells Angels, Motorcycle Club," one of them shouted. "We have a warrant to search the premises." Jake felt his stomach drop. This wasn't new. Raids happened, but today felt different. He felt exposed. As officers began searching, taking photos, opening toolboxes and storage cabinets, Jake noticed something. One of the younger officers kept staring at him, not with suspicion, with recognition. He walked over. "Problem?" Jake asked. The officer hesitated. "You were at that concert," the officer said. "With him?" "With who?" Jake said. The officer almost whispered it. "With Ozzy Osbourne." Jake felt tension in his chest. "Yeah," he admitted. "I was." The officer studied him. "You didn't look scared up there," he said. "You looked happy." Jake frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The officer shrugged awkwardly. It just surprised me, that's all. Another officer called him away. The raid continued, loud, invasive, familiar, when it was finally over, and the cops, left with nothing substantial except notes and photos. The garage fell into an exhausted silence. Bull gathered the crew. Listen up, he called. We knew this life wasn't going to come with hugs from the government. We ride on, we stay sharp, no one panics. Blade grunted. And if they're sniffing around because of that concert, he asked, then we stand by what we did. Bull replied, we didn't hurt anyone. We sang a song. Jake was quiet in the corner, clutching his father's guitar like a life raft. He thought about the news, the commentator, the words outlaw organization and dangerous influence. He also thought about the way the crowd had cheered. And he thought about OUSC.9, Brotherhood on SBA, KRPHON, that evening. Bull stepped outside the garage, the sky now turning indigo, city lights flickering on in the distance. He dialed a number he'd never thought he'd call twice. Ozzy picked up. Bull, my favorite giant lunatic, Ozzy greeted. How's the beard? Bull exhaled through his nose, something like a chuckle. Survived another raid, Bull said. Cops came by this morning, took pictures, flipped stuff, left bastards. Ozzy muttered. They didn't find anything, did they? We're not stupid, Bull replied. We keep our house clean, but it's obvious they're sniffing because we were on stage with you. Silence. Then Ozzy spoke, his voice firm. I'm sorry, Bull. Don't be, Bull said. We knew who we were before we met you. We knew the heat that comes with it. You didn't change that. Just added a bit of spotlight. Spotlight can burn, Ozzy murmured. Or it can show the world what's really there, Bull countered. Depends who's holding the light. There was a pause. Then Ozzy said, next time you're down this way, bring Jake. Bull frowned. Why? Because we've got a song to finish. 10. The studio night a week later. As the sky over Los Angeles draped itself in velvet darkness, two bikes rolled through the gates of Ozzy's property. Security nearly choked. Bull and Jake removed their helmets, greeted with a mix of fear, curiosity, and disbelief from the staff. Inside, the hallway felt like another universe. Framed gold records, concert photos, awards, the ghosts of decades of sound. Feels like a church, Jake whispered. It is, Bull replied, just a louder one. Ozzy met them in the foyer, Bull in his massive presence, Jake slightly nervous, holding his battered guitar case. Welcome boys, Ozzy grinned. Try not to steal anything.
Yeah.
Sharon counts the Grammys every night. Jake laughed, tension breaking. Ozzy led them down a corridor into his private studio. It was a cozy chaos of wires, gear, tape machines, and screens. A couple of guitars hung on the walls, each one a piece of history. Wow, Jake breathed. First rule, Ozzy said. In this room, you're not a biker, you're not Hell's Angels, you're not a reputation. You're just a musician. Understand? Jake nodded slowly. Yes. Second rule, Ozzy continued. You mess up, you keep going. Mistakes are just riffs that haven't found their place. Bull folded his arms, taking it all in. I'll just stay out of the way, he said. You're not out of the way, Ozzy replied. You're the soul. Every band needs a tank in the room. Bull snorted. I'll take that as a compliment. They got to work. Jake opened his guitar case. Ozzy tuned his own guitar and sat across from him, a notepad by his knee. Sing it from the top, Ozzy said. Jake did. This time there were no staticky phone lines in the way. His voice filled the room, rough, raw, full of truth. Old man in a leather vest, sitting where the sun comes down. We were born on different roads, but brother, we still ride the same line. Ozzy's eyes shone. He grabbed a pen, scribbling, humming along, tweaking a line here, bending a melody there. Bull watched from the couch, arms crossed, but eyes unexpectedly soft. Hours passed. They added a bridge. They strengthened the chorus. They crafted a second verse about the ride to the hills. Engines roaring like a hymn, city bleeding into night. He was laughing in the wind like a man who found his life. I was just a ghost in leather, hiding from the world outside. But the day I rode with legends, something woke up deep inside. They kept going. At one point, Jake fumbled over a chord. Sorry, he muttered. Don't apologize, Ozzy said. You're not killing puppies. You're making music. Finally, around 2 a.m. they recorded a rough demo. Jake's voice, Ozzy's harmonies, a simple guitar arrangement layered with subtle electric licks. When the final chord rang out, there was a long silence. Then Ozzy whispered, "This isn't just a song, it's our story." Jake swallowed, eyes glistening. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. "Shoot." "When you were a kid in Birmingham," Jake asked, "did you ever feel like you were cursed, like no matter what you did, you'd always be the screw-up, the one who disappoints everyone?" Ozzy chuckled sadly. "Jake, I lived in that feeling." "How'd you break it?" Jake asked. Ozzy leaned back. "I didn't," he said. "I just found something louder than the voice that said I was worthless. Music, the lads, the stage, brotherhood. You don't silence the darkness. You drown it out with something that matters more." Jake stared at him. "Do you think music can save people like us?" he asked. Ozzy looked at him, eyes kind. "It already is." 11. The OFFERS. The night wore on. Bull stepped outside for some air. The garden was manicured, fountains quietly bubbling. It felt surreal, a world away from their oil-stained garage. Sharon came outside. They stood there for a moment, in an odd silence. "You're Bull," she said. "Ma'am, you almost made my husband strip in a coffee shop," she added dryly. Bull coughed, embarrassed. "Yes, ma'am," she smirked slightly. "I should hate you for that. Wouldn't blame you." She studied him. "But I saw his face when he came home that night," she said. "He looked alive, like the kid I met all those years ago. So, I suppose I have to thank you." Bull shifted his weight, thrown off. "You're welcome, I guess." She glanced toward the studio window where Jake and Ozzy were laughing over something. "You know this song will stir things up even more, right?" she said. "More attention, more judgment, more people who don't understand." Bull nodded. "Then we ride through it," he replied simply. "Same way we ride through rain." She considered that. "You really love them, don't you?" she asked. "Your men, they saved my life," Bull said. "More than once. The world calls us outlaws. Fine, but inside those walls," he jerked his head in the direction of what he meant. "The clubhouse, the garage, the bikes. We're just men holding each other together." She looked down, then back up. "You and I," she said quietly, "are on the same team. Then, different jerseys, same goal. Keep that idiot alive." They shared a strange, mutual smile. Inside, Jake hit a wrong note and swore loudly. Both of them chuckled. 12. The secret DICICO. In weeks past, the demo lived in Ozzy's vault of sounds, not yet released, not yet produced, but alive. He listened to it often, especially at night. He'd put on headphones, close his eyes, and hear Jake's voice sing their story back at him. Born on different roads, but brother, we still ride the same line. One evening, as the sun sank low, he called his manager. "I want this song on the next record," he said. There was a pause. "With who?" the manager asked carefully. "With Jake," Ozzy said. "And I want the credits to say exactly what they are. Corrigan with the Hells Angels biker." "That's going to stir things up even more," the manager replied. "Then let it," Ozzy said. "If I've got any power left in this mad world, I want to use it to shine a light on people no one wants to see." His manager sighed. "You're impossible." "That's why you love me," Ozzy said. He hung up in the quiet that followed. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Not the purpose of selling records, not the vanity of chasing charts, but the raw, stubborn purpose of a kid from Birmingham who wanted to prove that misfits deserved songs too. 13. Jake's case. CHOICE. At the garage. Life kept moving. Engines in, engines out. Road trips, bar fights, laughter, scars, but something inside. Jake had shifted permanently. He started setting aside time every week. A few hours, door closed, guitar in his hands. He wrote more. Songs about loss, songs about road dust, songs about the feeling when the world sees the patch before it sees the person. Some of the brothers teased him at first. "Careful, boys," Blade joked one afternoon. "We're about to become a boy band. Next thing you know, we'll have choreography." But then, one night, Jake played a song around the fire pit at the clubhouse. He sang about a man who came back from war, couldn't sleep, couldn't talk, could only ride till the gas tank ran dry. When he finished, there were tears in more eyes than anyone admitted. Bull put a massive arm around his shoulders. "You keep doing that," Bull said gruffly. "You're carrying us in that guitar." Jake smiled quietly, but he also knew something else. He was standing at a crossroads. One path was the life he knew, pure ride or die loyalty to the club. living and dying in the same circle of concrete and chrome. The other path was blurred and uncertain but full of stages, studios, and words that could travel further than any bike on a lonely highway. Could he walk both, or would the world force him to choose? 14. The CALLANG late. One night, his phone buzzed. .OUSC. Jake. Mate. Came the familiar Birmingham drawl. Big news. Jake's heart stuttered. Yeah, I played our demo to a few people, Ozzy said. Half of them cried. Half of them acted like they had dust in their eyes. I want it on the record. Proper. Produced. Studio. Session players. The works. And I want you standing next to me, not hiding in the background. Jake gripped the phone. Are you serious? He whispered. As a bat bite, Ozzy replied. We're gonna do this, but I won't force you into anything. You say no, we keep it between us. A song for brothers only. You say yes, we let the world hear it. Jake stared at the ceiling of his small room above the garage. He thought about the stage, the roar, the feeling in his chest like his heart had finally found space to breathe. He also thought about the patch on his vest, the nights watching Bull break up fights, the way the brothers had held him when his father died. Will it bring more heat on us? Jake asked quietly. Yes, Ozzy said honestly, it probably will. Jake nodded to himself. And will it also show them we're more than what they think? Yes, Ozzy answered. Jake closed his eyes. Then let's do it, he whispered. Let's ride the same line, all the way. On the other end, Ozzy grinned so wide it hurt. That's my boy. 15. What the world doesn't care. No W. The world would eventually hear that song. It would argue about it. Some would call it dangerous. Others would call it brave. People on talk shows would debate. Should a Hell's Angel be on a famous rock album? Is this romanticizing outlaw culture, or humanizing those on the margins? But none of those people would be in the garage when Jake played it to his brothers for the first time. They wouldn't be there when Bull, giant, tattooed, feared had to stand up and walk away so no one would see his hands shaking. They wouldn't hear Blade mutter, "That's us," in a song. I never thought anyone would put us in a song that wasn't about violence. They wouldn't know how many nights Jake would sit alone under the humming neon in that garage, playing the chorus again and again, reminding himself that he wasn't just a patch, or a label, or a threat. He was a man with a voice, and he had a brother in a Beverly Hills mansion who believed in that voice more than the world believed in its own opinions. 16. JUST. Months later, on a quiet night, Ozzy lay in bed. The tall lights had dimmed. The studio sessions were over. The world was still arguing. He lay there, headphones on, listening to the final mixed version of the song. Strings swelled in the background now. A bass line rumbled under his ribs. A distant slide guitar cried like a lonely highway. Jake's voice came in first, then his own. Older, rougher, cracked with years. Two worlds, one harmony. He smiled. For a moment, he forgot about the headlines, about the criticism, about the people who would never understand. He thought only of the coffee shop, the vest, the ride to the hills, the pin in his hand. He thought of Bull's laughter, of Sharon's exasperated smile, of Jake's stunned expression on that stage, as sleep slowly reached for him. One last thought drifted through his mind. Maybe, just maybe, the point was never to be the Prince of Darkness. Maybe the point was to be John, a man from Birmingham who refused to let the world decide who was worthy of being seen. And somewhere, miles away, in a greasy garage under a flickering light, Jake fell asleep clutching his guitar. The lyrics of their song scribbled beside him. We were born on different roads, but brother, we still ride the same line. If you felt this story, if you saw the heart behind the leather, if somewhere inside you there's a misfit who still wants to be seen, then this is for you. If you enjoyed this journey, hit subscribe to Voices of Darkness, comment your name so we can use it for a character in our next story. Like and share this video with your friends. If you love Ozzy Osbourne, then share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now, prove your love.